I think it's already well known that Call of Duty Zombies is, well, dead. Okay, I mean, yeah, that's been known since Black Ops 4, but even though it has been brought back twice, it really is just a shadow of its former self, especially with what's happening with Black Ops 6. Then again, I have no idea what's happening with Black Ops 6. But that's the thing with it, no one really cares for it at all. The zombies look somewhat promising, but it ended up just not being any good, and quickly fell into irrelevance, until Treyarch decided to pull the move of possibly bringing back Primus, just to feed off people's nostalgia. Which could actually work if they do it right. Or not. Seeing the current state Zombies is in right now though got me thinking. Thinking about when Call of Duty Zombies wasn't just an empty shell, when the game mode actually had a soul, and wasn't just a Warzone lookalike. You know, Call of Duty Zombies has always been a big part of my childhood. I may not have started playing at its beginning in World at War, but I did start playing and loving Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies a bit before its peak, during the era of Black Ops 2. As a kid, I became absolutely addicted to the idea of earning points from killing zombies to buy unnecessarily expensive doors and weapons just to see how long I can survive. Not only by myself, but with friends, on maps like Town, Transit, Buried, and Origins. Especially the maps that were very unique in their setup, gameplay, and even their story. But these maps, like Mob of the Dead and Origins, were only the tip of the iceberg when it came to an amazing zombies map. With time, more maps like this would soon be made, with the introduction and release of Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 was when zombies was at its complete peak, when the era of zombie YouTubers like Mr. Rough Waffles, Mr. T Lexify, The Smith Plays, and even more were at their height. With every new map that came out, it continued to have its own unique take in terms of content and gameplay to progress the story, ultimately ending with a big blend of previous maps and experiences. But what was it that made Black Ops 3 so good? Truly good? Was it just a great execution from Jason Blundell and Treyarch? Or was it just the memories from a bygone era, being compared to what we now have? Today, I will be covering and looking back on the greatest era of Call of Duty Zombies, from its gameplay, story, execution, and of course the look back on what the zombie community had back then. But quick disclaimer, I just wanted to say that this video is not at all a comparison or a rant about why modern COD Zombies is nothing like it used to be, and it will never live up to Black Ops 3. No, this is just a video meant for entertainment, a love letter if you will, looking back on the good COD Zombies had back then, not on the good that it lost over the years. Think of it as looking down memory lane. Let's get started. But first, let's
recap a bit, shall we?
Call of Duty Zombies itself started out as an Easter egg, a bonus game mode you would unlock after completing the World at War campaign. Being put in the shoes of a soldier in an abandoned building, by your lonesome or with others, fighting against waves of the undead, with weapons from chalk drawings and a magic box. The story of zombies at the time of World at War was non-existent, being just a game mode, but was looked at very fondly by a lot of those who played it. Well, by those who didn't shit themselves after discovering something they had no idea even existed. Or maybe they did. And from then on, zombies would continue to be invested in and expanded in the Black Ops series over the years with the release of every new title. World at War getting new maps like Verrückt, Shino Numa, and Doris. Black Ops 1 with 5, Call of the Dead, Shangri-La, the fan favorite Kino der Toten, and finally Moon. Continuing with Black Ops 2, having not so beloved maps like Transit and Die Rise, but still had the classics like Buried, Mob, and Origins. The majority of the maps in BO2 take place on a destroyed Earth, overrun with zombies. But the last couple of maps would continue taking place in a new dimension, where we begin following alternate versions of Ultimus, known as Primus. Though Black Ops 2 was more of an experiment and wasn't all that well received until Mob of the Dead and Origins, made by the Jason Blundell, which took place in that same new dimension, that was still connected to the same story. Now, Jimmy Zielinski was the creative director from World at War, all the way to Black Ops 2, but was soon taken over by Jason Blundell, the same guy who would soon take zombies to a whole level of its own that will probably never be reached ever again. Black Ops 3 itself would soon release in 2015, selling 43 million copies and being mostly successful. Okay, so BO3 was basically the transition into the new generation of consoles, like the PS4 and Xbox One. I'm saying this because the older generation of consoles, like the Xbox 360 and PS3, were severely limited. One of the main reasons why Black Ops 2 Zombies was held back, and kinda bad, was also why eventually Black Ops 3 looked like this. Yeah, Black Ops 3 was developed by a different company specifically for the older console generation, so they can still play, but it ended up looking terrible, and was basically a giant message saying it's time to get a new console. Ignoring last gen Richtofen's existence, Black Ops 3 was still a success. Not really in its campaign, but in its multiplayer and especially in zombies. Zombies was a bit different, but much less the same. You can now customize guns you regularly use, there are prestige levels, new specialist weapons you can acquire, and maps are a lot more innovative and engaging. But before I continue, I have to talk about the bold move Treyarch made that could have ruined Black Ops 3 Zombies. That bold move was the introduction of Gobblegums. Gobblegums was something new that you could use to either give you insane power-ups or second chances. The classic Gobblegums are unlocked by leveling up, but aren't as powerful as Megas. Mega Gobblegums are earned from spending Liquid Divinium in Dr. Monty's factory. Liquid Divinium is given by randomly purchasing something like a door or Pack-a-Punch, earning only 3 per game. You basically gamble with this Divinium to earn random Mega Gobblegums. But if you don't want to grind, then yeah, you can already immediately see that this is just an inserted microtransaction. But it isn't mandatory. You don't need Mega Gobblegums to play zombies. You can still play it normally. Megas are just there to give you more options, or a bit of a helping hand in playing. So Treyarch managed to execute the idea pretty well. I mean, I use Mega Gums, but I've accumulated all this from just playing Black Ops 3 over the years, and especially during the pandemic. And because I close app every time so I don't lose my gums. The actual gameplay of Black Ops 3 Zombies starts off relatively the same as before. Start by focusing on getting points to turn on power, get perks, a good gun, maybe the wonder weapon, Pack-a-Punch, and see how many rounds you could last, choosing to go through this traditional route or take shortcuts with the already mentioned Gobblegums. Black Ops 3 would not have such a strong start, but it would soon begin and progress to what all of the community would consider Call of Duty Zombies' greatest era. But with each current and future releases all had different types of gameplay and atmosphere, which were all unique in their own way depending on the one you're playing, while still progressing and revealing important details about the story. For example, at the beginning of Black Ops 3, 2 maps were available to play, the Giant and Shadows of Evil. Well, if you pre-ordered, then you had the Giant. The Giant was just a but remastered, and was a more casual and beginner zombies experience, just like his previously remastered predecessor. Though the community was a bit skeptical about it, since, again, this is just a remaster and not exactly an original map. The Giant was still well received by the old and new players of the community, however, for its nostalgia and simple experience. But one of the main reasons why the Giant returned was because of the story. After Primus Richtofen stole the summoning key, he traveled back in time to before or slightly after Samantha took control of the zombies, in the original timeline, to take out his ultimate self to absorb his soul into the summoning key. His mission is to also do this for the rest of Primus, to secure a better tomorrow. But how did Richtofen end up with the summoning key, and where did he get it? Well, before beginning the plan of a better tomorrow, before the Giant, there were Shadows of Evil. Shadows of Evil was very complex, and not a very beginner-friendly map, with its rituals and beast mode to turn on power, and unlock Pack-a-Punch. Yet it's one of the most remembered and beloved zombies maps of all time, with its jazz-infused aesthetic and 1940s noir-style Chicago setting. But in terms of gameplay, it was pretty complicated, using the already mentioned beast mode to unlock specific items and areas of the map, doing 4 separate rituals to gather gate worms to unlock and finish Pack-a-Punch. Also having other unique items that you can get or build, like Lil Arnie's, which is a better monkey bomb, a quest for a specialist weapon being a sword that you can swing around and have it kill zombies on its own, pods you can find around the map that can grow and give power-ups, and if you're lucky a ray gun, and finally the map's wonder weapon, The Apothicon Servant, a gun that shoots black holes. Probably one of the best wonder weapons in zombies history by far, due to its simplicity. Even with all of its unique weapons and good gameplay, once you properly get set up, Shadows was still looked down on heavily at the time. After the simple and in some cases masterpieces released from BO2, all tied to a story that was making sense and going in an amazing direction, it was a questionable move to throw a map at the community where everything is about tentacles, and was a little much. Not exactly good for first impressions. The actual story though is quite simple, taking place in Dimension 63, the same dimension where Mob and Origins take place, in a 1940s morgue city. The main crew you play as all have done unforgivable deeds, and are being used by a new, but not really new, character called the Shadow Man, the leader of an evil race called the Apothicons, who are bent on escaping the Dark Ether and reaching Agartha. Using the crew from Shadows as pawns to unleash the Apothicons on Dimension 63 and to take control of the Summoning Key, an ancient artifact that can manipulate the Ether. Shadows Easter egg having the characters, aka you, prevent the Apothicons from taking over by working with the Keepers, the opposite of the Apothicons, but not really, and successfully trapping the Shadow Man in the Summoning Key until it's stolen by Richtofen. Shadows really didn't help when it came to its first impressions. Everyone was initially confused on the take on zombies, with the squid theme, and what seemed to have been related to something like Cthulhu, which was one of the main reasons why Shadows was hated at first, because no one really knew what was going on. We were going somewhere with Black Ops 2 and then suddenly we just got this. But after the story was brought to light in terms of context, Shadows started to be looked at more fondly as time went on. The actual gameplay was really good once you learned how to set up and become overpowered within a few rounds, especially if you had gobblegums. But Shadows would become universally loved based on its atmosphere and amazing music. Like as soon as you hear that jazz music, you're immediately transferred back to when Black Ops 3 was still barely beginning before its takeoff into something greater. Even then, after all the confusion washed away, a lot of the community will stand on the fact that Shadows is one of the greatest maps up there, with Mob of the Dead and others. And I do agree with them. The amount of time I spent playing Shadows of Evil was a lot. Like I just remember all the time I spent watching Mr. Rothwaffles on how to set up, get the swords with the tram puzzle, and everything else, just because I liked playing Shadows that much. And because it was the only map I had at the time. It's very nostalgic for a lot of the zombies community. It may have had mixed opinions even if it aged pretty well, but it was just a start to what was truly to come.
The road is long and dark, but I know where we are going. We will complete our mission.
I should never have trusted you, Richtofen. Never.
The Rising Drakh, even to this day, is still such a work of art. Its take on the zombies formula is one of the most effective and simplest takes I've ever seen. It can be easily picked up by anybody with common knowledge, and it is extremely good for anyone who wants to just have a chill time to set up and go for some high rounds. Taking place in an old castle in the mountains of Austria, giving it its medieval atmosphere, while also showing Group 935's presence and influence with their work with Element 115. The setup is a culmination of both Mob of the Dead and Origins, with the feeding of the dragons and 4 different upgrade paths for the map's wonder weapon. That wonder weapon being the Wrath of the Ancients, a bow that is just so good and perfect in terms of its setting. Yes, it's one of the most overpowered if you take the lightning bow route, yet it can also be the most balanced if you choose one of the other variants, like the wolf bow. The steps to get some of the variants does range from very simple to pain in the ass, but it is still an enjoyable process to get an extremely powerful weapon. All the things that made the Rising Drakh was a perfect mix of past experiences into something new. that was so simple to understand at the same time. After with what happened with Shadows, Treyarch was dedicated to giving the community something that would reassure that Call of Duty Zombies is still gonna be Call of Duty Zombies. And with the release of Dreisendrach, they would completely dissolve any kind of fear of zombies being over. If anything, they were just getting started. Dreisendrach was really just such a fan favorite to the community. I absolutely love this map to death. Not only in its amazing and simple zombies experience, but in its Easter egg to finish it off. The story after the Giant would continue with the Primus crew going after the older version of Dempsey, aka Ultimus Dempsey, to continue Richtofen's plan, which was unclear at the time, both to the characters and the community, leading to a Group 935 facility near Wiffren, Austria, where the Primus version of Dempsey was supposed to be, but was launched to the moon, having the main Easter egg be trying to get him back. It can be one of the hardest or easiest if you know what you're doing, but it climaxes with Zombie's actual first incorporation of a boss fight, finishing up with a reveal of what Richthofen actually plans to do for the rest of Ultimus, telling Takio, Nikolai, telling Dempsey that this is the only way to save the universe. And they understand, ending with a simple but meaningful moment with Dempsey and his alternate self, setting up the story for what the rest of Primus are going to have to go through throughout the span of the next few maps.
Good to see you, Tank.
Overall, Dreisendrach will probably always be a fan favorite to the entire Zombies community, new or old. The hype surrounding it on release would meet and exceed expectations, and continue to solidify its reputation as one of the best Zombies maps ever, and probably as Black Ops 3 best Zombies map out of its entire roster. Even if there are some who label it as easy or just a simplified version of Origins, but I think it was truly where it signified what the community was going to continue to experience for the rest of Black Ops 3. Well, at least for most of it. Black Ops 3 may have been zombies at its peak, but there were still some flaws to be seen, and pointed out. Not all of the community considered these things flaws, but also had mixed feelings about them. Zetsubo no Shima was one of those major flaws. Zetsubo would be introduced 2 months later after Dreisendrach in DLC 2. It's one of the least played maps when it came to the quality of BO3 zombies, and it's kinda justified. It is by far one of the most overwhelming maps with the way you have to turn on power by powering 2 separate stations to open the main door to flip the actual power switch. A tedious process just to get the Wonder Weapon and Specialist Weapon. Not to mention all the doors you have to buy. Like, why are there so many doors? You can literally farm Liquid Divinium just by buying all these doors. Wait, people actually do that. By the time you're done setting up, you've already done like half of the Easter egg. Yeah, the majority of the Easter egg is just setting up for all the weapons. It's not a map not many casual and even old zombie players will find themselves playing, let alone visiting. But even with its major flaws, Zetsubo would still find itself being enjoyed by some. Okay, not many people liked it, but as an experience, it was quite enjoyable. For me at least. It was very unique with all the things that they added to Zetsubo that were under all those flaws. Like the planting system, underwater segments. There's even a mini boss fight with a giant spider that gives you free Widow's wine afterwards. Besides the setup process, I actually really like the other half and ending boss fight of the Easter egg. It isn't that difficult, and is mostly based on targeting weak spots after a certain amount of time. But it's a nice and good way to end Zetsubo's egg, after spending all that time to set up and fix the elevator that takes you to the fight. But why, and how did Primus end up in Zetsubo after Dreisendrach? After being taken hostage and escaping the Japanese, Primus would find themselves at another facility, handled by Division 9, instead of Group 935, and their work with Element 115 on plants and animals, instead of the undead. Also the same place where older Takio was imprisoned and experimented on as well. After the conclusion of the Easter egg, a first and final conversation between both Primus and Ultimus Takio take place, on why Ultimus was here, on Primus Takio's loyalty to the Emperor, and what he has to do for a better tomorrow, and knowing what he's been through, Ultimus Takio accepts his fate. Even as Zetsubo is the least favorite map out of Black Ops 3, it still holds up as a decent zombies map. It was never the community's first choice when it came to what map they would want casually, but it does hold up to the part of the community that wants a fun challenge. But if it was a challenge that people were looking for, then they wouldn't go to Zetsubo, they would go to Gorod Krovi. Gorod Krovi is by far one of the most fun and chaotic maps I've ever played. A take on zombies that is so different compared to what we had so far in Black Ops 3. Unlike the majority of maps we had over the years, Gorod has no calm atmosphere. It's not in an abandoned city or in a Group 935 facility out in the middle of nowhere. It is in the heart of a complete war. During World War II actually, between the Soviet Union and Germany, taking place in Stalingrad of all places, which is now plagued by not just zombies, but also by dragons, which were actually made at Zetsubo by Division 9 and other Group 935 experiments. By the time Primus arrives to make contact with Nikolai, he quickly refuses without a word and is taken out of commission by a dragon he was fighting. Gorod Krovi itself was a breath of fresh air after the mixed review of Zetsubo. Its chaotic atmosphere all wasn't just for show, it's present in literally anything and everything. I've never played a zombies map that was constantly keeping me on my toes like Gorod. There's so much going on in such a big map, but even with its size, the majority of the map is played in small spaces, which just makes everything even more intense as you try to make sure you don't accidentally trap yourself in a corner. Everything, and I mean everything, is cranked up to 100 when it comes to this map. The weapons, the events, and even the setup. Power is thankfully just a switch, but in order to pack a punch, you have to get cylinders that zombies drop to call in 3 different modules to fix a machine that takes you to pack a punch. And how do you get to pack a punch? By calling in and riding a freaking dragon. That's gotta be one of the coolest ways to get pack a punch in zombies. Though while it is cool that everything about Gorod is pure chaos, the Easter egg itself is one of the hardest to do, especially with that one specific set that everyone was always terrified to get wrong. Which, in its entirety, is to just help Ultimus Nikolai fix his mech and get out of the debris the dragon he was fighting threw him in. But ending with an incredible boss fight. After Ultimus Nikolai is back on his feet, you help him fight and take down the dragon he was fighting, but then having to fight him, as he doesn't care at all for sacrificing himself for the greater good to save the universe. Having one true last stand, ending with Primus Nikolai trying to give his older self a decent send-off, knowing what he's been through, but Ultimus still resists, leaving him to die by the hands of his better self. Gorod Krovi was the final map before everything that zombies had been so far would soon come to an end. It was one last perfect map that the community would enjoy and appreciate with its chaotic but fun nature. After the Easter egg, there would be a bit of an epilogue from a mysterious figure known as Dr. Monty, who is essentially God in the zombies universe. Sort of. He has been the one who was guiding the crew throughout their entire journey and giving them gobblegums. With Richtofen's plan now complete, all the souls of Ultimus have been sent to the house in Agartha, and now the universe is saved. Well, it at least appears that way, until the final DLC. Revelations was the most anticipated map in the series' entire history. After years of playing, experiencing maps that were controversial, and masterpieces, Zombies was finally coming to an end. Expectations were high, and to some they were met, but to others not so much. When Revelations came out, everyone did like it, but others were kind of disappointed. A lot of the community was expecting a final climax, and not the one that was given to us by Treyarch. What we got ended up being previous maps from all Zombies history all stitched together. An entire final map based on the Zombies community's nostalgia, but at the same time still being its own. With the entire map all taking place in space, which is also Agartha, the place that so many characters in the story have been trying to reach this entire time. So the entire time while you're playing, you have a beautiful view of the cosmos between rounds. Looking at the actual gameplay, Revelations is uniquely different compared to the rest of the maps. It's not only a trip down memory lane, but it's a map where you can just have a casual and extremely fun time. You can get almost all the wonder weapons from previous maps throughout Zombies history. The Thundergun, Apothecan's Servant, Lil Arnie's, Ragnarok Specialist, and other kinds of new weapons. There is also this semi-new feature where masks can be obtained through specific quests to be either faster, tanky against specific enemies, or even all enemies. One of the masks allows you to be able to tank 10 hits before going down, while also doing 50% more damage. As you can see from what I said, the entire point of Revelations was to just be pure enjoyment. A map meant to be just one final good time after a decade of zombies. And I can't lie, I like it. The thought of just being super overpowered with all the wonder weapons and mask, just flying through rounds, is really fun. But that doesn't mean that Revelations is such an easy map that you can't die. Most of the time that's not the case. Since everything from past zombies maps is here, that also means previous boss zombies are here. Margwas from Shadows, Panzers from Dreisendrach, and actually Margwa variants with distinctive attacks catering to the boat types from Dreisendrach. So even while being overpowered, there are still enemies dedicated to taking you down. So a final map meant as a send-off, but what is the actual ending to one of the most iconic game storylines ever? After sending the souls of Ultimus to the house, Primus would return to Agartha to finally enjoy a better tomorrow. No more zombies, no more Element 115. Until Maxis accidentally releases a Shadow Man that was still trapped in the Summoning Key since Shadows of Evil, and brings pure chaos back into not just the universe, but into Agartha itself, forcing Primus to fight and defeat the Shadow Man one last time to put a complete end to the evil that was plaguing everything. And, in the end, they are sent back in time to where they originally came from, to the Great War, making the entirety of Call of Duty Zombies' story a time loop. Revelations was the final conclusion to a story that started out with just surviving in a bunker, unaware of what was going on, that soon turned into the chaos that would unravel into something way deeper. The map may not have been satisfying to a lot of the community with its ending and boss fight, yet to the majority of it, this was truly when Call of Duty Zombies ended. Yeah, it was brought back in a way, but it wasn't entirely the same. Revelations was probably the last time Call of Duty Zombies was still at its core. In the end, even with its imperfections, Revelations was one final masterpiece from the original and greatest era of Call of Duty Zombies. Throughout the almost flawless era of Black Ops 3, not only was Call of Duty Zombies in its prime, but so was the community itself. With all the tutorials, side quests, and creepy Easter eggs in specific maps, overanalyzing trailers and hidden details to try and figure out where the story would go next, playing with friends and struggling to do the Easter egg because one of them can't train a single zombie, with the actual accomplishment and feeling of completing a map's Easter egg. It was just amazing. It was the time when the zombies community was still alive and well. And, it turns out, even after BO3 Zombies was seemingly over, Treyarch would casually release Zombies Chronicles. All of the maps from World at War to just one map from Call of Duty Black Ops 2, fully remastered in the BO3 engine. The community was not expecting this at all. Everyone thought it was over. It was during that period of time when everybody was trying to figure out what they were supposed to do now. And just reflecting on all the memories they made playing Call of Duty Zombies over the years, Treyarch decided to change that by giving us a bit more time to not only remember previous eras of zombies, but also in a way to extend the one we were in at the time. The maps from Chronicles were just perfect, right down to every little detail and feature. It was one final gift to the community that would end up still bringing new and sometimes old players back, years after Black Ops 3 was supposedly done. But even way after the new CODs were released, even after Zombies started to lose its identity over the years, there are people who still regularly play and come back to Black Ops 3, because it was Zombies at its core. In other cases like on PC, people also return to play the amazing maps created by the modded community, whether it be remasters of original maps or newly crafted ones. I've never really had the opportunity to play any of them, but you can really see in some the amount of work people put into making an amazing Zombies map. We probably won't ever get to relive or reach what Call of Duty Zombies once was. But that doesn't mean that we still can't remember that time, that era, when the maps were molded with passion, when the story felt like it would never end, when the gameplay felt like it had a purpose, when Call of Duty Zombies was still Call of Duty Zombies. Hey everyone, if you made it to the end of the video, then thanks for watching. Now you get to watch me spend all the liquid divinium I managed to get during the making of this video, while I also do the outro. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. It took me a while to make, but only because I kept adding and removing stuff to the script. But other than that, I really did enjoy making this video, not to mention just revisiting Black Ops 3 in general. I never realized how much I actually miss Call of Duty Zombies until this video. I had a lot of fun just playing the game, gathering footage, and actually doing the Easter eggs on most maps. Oh yeah, funny thing that did happen while making this video. I queued up in a public match of Revelations just to play a quick game, and I loaded in with a Prestige Master, a low level, and some random. And that low level ended up being some 12-year-old kid who casually carried all of us through 99% of the Easter egg. I'm not even joking. He actually did the entire egg all by himself while the rest of us played normally and helped kill zombies. Oh, and if you're wondering why I said 99%, it's because I guess he forgot to do the final step with throwing the summoning key at Sophia and activating the Canorium, so I ended up doing it. But yeah, that alone really shows how good Black Ops 3 still is, if even the new generation is playing it. But yeah, again, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content. I have a couple of other ideas, but if you guys want to see something in particular, then put it down in the comments. Heck, I'll even feature you in the video if I do like the idea and make it. Why not? Okay, I'm done talking. Now you can see what I get from Monty's factory in silence. My name is Solar Flare, and I'll see you guys next time.